Hey guys, welcome. Hope you are all fine. Today I'm going to continue my previous tutorial. So if you are new to this video, then I will recommend you to watch my previous tutorial. In this tutorial, I will be going to create modular pieces of ventilation ducts. Then I will be creating the emergency stairway exit. Then I will talk about how I have created some pipes for water drainage system. But before creating anything, I would like to recommend you guys to do a lot of extensive research on buildings and its parts and try to figure what can make it more real, functional, and more closer to reality. For that, you will also need to know the functions of the parts that are connected to the building, like stairways that can save life if the building was on fire. So if you know the purpose of things, then it will be easy for you to connect them with any other assets you have in your scene. So let's get started. To create ventilation duct, we will need a plain wall. So for that, select the wall and make sure it's not the instance. If it is, then duplicate the mesh and delete the instance one. Now select the duplicated mesh and in edit mode press Z to switch to wireframe mode and then select the vertex icon, and after that just select all the vertices except the corner of plane and press X to view and select dissolve vertices. After that select the remaining vertices and delete them. Now you can switch to developer mode and see how it's done. After that, just delete the other meshes below this wall panel and duplicate an instance and move it with the snapping tool on to snap it on every corner of the other wall panels. Then you will need to repeat that for the window below. Then select the wall, press delete to get closer to it, then add 3D cursor to the wall and then add a cube to the scene. After that, scale it down in edit mode and slide it out of the wall in object mode and define the position for it. Then in edit mode, add edge loops vertically on X and Y axis of the mesh, then bevel them to create borders of the edges, so that later if we add shade smooth to it, it will give smoothness to the edges. Then select the top and bottom faces and delete them to create the passage for the air. Then add an edge loop horizontally to its center and bevel it to create border edges for smooth purpose and repeat it one more time. Then select the top and bottom border faces and press Ctrl E and extrude faces along their normals. Then check offset even inside the dialog box. After that, select all the center faces and insert them. And after that, one by one, just merge them on their centers. Then select the vertices and scale them slightly. Then in object mode, apply shade smooth to it. To make the edges more sharp, just select them in edit mode and apply mark sharp to them. Then in object mode, check auto smooth and give value more than 90°. After that, add material to it and name it metal. And put metallic value to 1 and roughness value between 0.2 to 0.3 and give slightly gray tone to it. Then in edit mode, add edge loops to every top and bottom faces to create borders and to have some slightly round edges look to them. After that, apply array modifier to it and array it on z-axis to increase the length of the mesh. To know more about array modifier, you can watch my previous tutorial. Click on the link on top right to watch it. Then just like previous tutorial, select the mesh and press Ctrl C to copy it and paste the mesh in scene 2. Then lie it down and snap it on bottom left edge of the plane and make it shorter by decreasing the value of array. Then in edit mode, select the top edge of the mesh and apply 3D cursor to the selection. And then change the pivot point to 3D cursor. Then you can scale it down easily so that you can focus only on other end of it. Try to match it with the plane below. That's how I also create trim sheets. It's easier and effective. Make sure that you slide it down on z-axis, leaving the top face, so that even if you want to make height map, you can get better results from doing this. Then in edit mode, just snap the side vertices to the body of it so that you can only make the front face of the mesh. Then just like before, make sure that you are on workbench render and are using the normal matcap. You can also change and increase the render samples up to 32 samples from the scene tab. And if you want, you can also change the viewport render samples. After that, just click on render and then save the image and name it as what you like. Then for the ambient occlusion, switch back to EV and then select any other mesh that has the ambient material on it. And then from the material tab, just drag and drop the material to apply it on your mesh. It's a faster way to apply material on other mesh and saves a lot of time. Then after that, just render it out and save the image. Then after saving, switch back to scene 1 and move the previous model aside and add a cube again. Then scale it down and delete the same top and bottom faces just like we did before for the previous model. Then just like before, apply the metal material like I did for the ambient occlusion map. And if you want to make it completely different, then just click on the number button next to material name. Now we just need to bring the normal map image inside of the material node and plug that into the normal map. Make sure that you change color space to linear. As you can see that it's not aligning with the mesh. So for that, in the bottom left window, first change the image to imported normal image. Then in 3D viewport, press U in edit mode and select reset so that all the UVs overlap each other and covers the whole image. Then expand the bottom left window by shift spacebar and select bounding box and scale it down and match its UV edges with one of the baked normal edges. Apply 3D cursor to the vertex that is aligned with the normal and then change the pivot point to 3D cursor and scale it. It will help you a lot in matching the edges of the UVs with the edges of the normal. Here's a blunder tip. If you increase the normal map strength, it will bend the shading of the model. This is really useful if you are making anisotropic material and also for the metals too. I want to give it a brush metal look, so for that add bump node after normal and add Musgrave to the height of the bump node. Then change the value of bump node to 0.001. After that, add texture coordinate and mapping node and plug them into the Musgrave. Make sure you are using the UVs for the texture coordinate. Then we just need to increase the scale of mapping on y-axis to create some random lines from the Musgrave texture. You can also scale it with Musgrave node and also with the mapping node. After that, just add a color ramp between the Musgrave and bump node. Now just delete the previous mesh, we don't need it anymore. Now just like before, position the ventilation duct, and now just like before, array the newly created low poly on z-axis to increase its length. One more trick, if you apply shade smooth to it, it will apply some curveness to the model and will add more shading curve to it. So you can use it and can get some pretty cool results. But I'm going to apply auto smooth, which can give sharp edges according to what value you give for the model. Now just duplicate mesh and make its instance. Now just go to the top of the mesh and duplicate the mesh on z-axis and snap it on top of the previous one. Then just remove the array modifier and press delete to focus this mesh. And use the numpad keys to go into orthographic view. Then in edit mode, switch to the wireframe mode and select the two top vertices and assign 3D cursor to it. And then from the side toolbar, select view and change the value to change the position of the 3D cursor to the right or left side of the edge. Then select the top vertices and select the spin tool and make sure that your gizmo button is on, and then select the axis from the top left and then just rotate the gizmo to get 90-degree turn. Then in dialog box, give exact 90-degree and set this step as what you like. Then delete the lower vertices of the mesh and apply 3D cursor to the lower edges, and then change the pivot point to the 3D cursor from object tab while in object mode. And switch to developer mode to see how it's looking. Then in edit mode, select the bottom face of the mesh and unwrap it. Then select the following faces and then reselect the unwrap face and then press U, and this time use follow active chords. Now just like before, rotate and scale the UVs and align them to the normal map data. Then select the bottom face of the right side and unwrap it. Then use the snap tool to select the vertex and make them parallel to the other vertices by just using the grab key and axis on which the other vertices are present. Now just repeat the follow active quad command and match the UVs to the map again. Now if you want to get rid of the zigzag lines on the mesh, then add more edge loops to it, and if you still see some distortions, then you will need to add edge loops vertically and slide them slightly to rectify the distorted lines. Now just repeat and do same to the other side of the mesh. Then just increase the array value of the bottom mesh to fill the gaps between them. Now just duplicate the instances and connect them with the snap tool. With these two modular assets, you can make ventilation duct to the size of anything, and you can use it anywhere and change the rotation of the second modular piece to change the direction of the duct. You can set any length to it. After that, you will need to create the support for the duct and connect them to the wall. So for that, add a cube to the scene and scale it down and make it look thin. Then in object mode, snap it to the side of the ventilation duct. After that, in edit mode, select the face towards the wall and snap it to the wall. Then add an edge loop and slide it down near to the end. Then select the face opposite to the duct and extrude it out. Then select the top and bottom face of the extruded one. First extrude it and then scale them on z-axis. Change their position wherever you want for the support of the duct. Then add the same material to it. Then in edit mode, duplicate it and mirror it on the other side of the ventilation duct. Now you just need to duplicate the instances and place them wherever you want to support the venting ducts. After that, I have just repeated the whole process and have changed their position to the side of the apartment. For the emergency stairway exit, select the two window panels of the building and press slash on the keyboard. After that, add a plane to the scene and snap that to the bottom corner of the window panel. Then in edit mode, expand the floor to the other end of the wall and select the front edge of it and slide that towards the wall of the panel. Then add an edge loop to the side and from the front of the plane, then bevel the front one to make space for the stairs. Delete the center face. Then select all and insert the floor and then separate it and hide it. And then extrude the visible face upward, then unhide the plane mesh and change the position of it to the middle of the extruded one. Then select the extruded path and duplicate it and move upward to define the height of it. Then just select and delete the face that are towards the wall and make open paths for the stairways. Then select the edges that are parallel to each other and scale them with the value of 0 on the axis that they are facing. Then dissolve the extra unwanted edge loops from it. Then add edge loops on the lower side of these faces. Then duplicate it and extrude and snap them to the floor borders. Now hide these faces and dissolve the added edge loops and fill the open faces of the mesh. After that, unhide all. Now select the filled faces and slide and align them to the lower edge of the floor borders. Then slightly extrude them so that you can easily extrude them down and connect them to the floor borders. Hit slash to unhide all. Now just select two top and below window panels with the stairway mesh and hit slash to hide all except these mesh. Now just duplicate the stair mesh and snap it to the lower edge of the window panel below. This is done to create a stairway between them. Then select the lower mesh and in edit mode, select the bottom edge and duplicate it. Then extrude and snap it to connect with the upper bottom edge of the mesh. Then separate it from the mesh. After that, in edit mode, extrude it on z-axis and move it down to match its center with the floor of the stairway. Add edge loop to the center of the mesh and bevel to create steps for the floor. Then delete it and fill the gaps. Now just add some edge loops to one of its side to make it a reference mesh for the stair step. And then duplicate one of its inner edge and extrude it and snap it to the other side of the mesh. After that, slide the lower edge upward to scale it down. Then extrude the face to create step for the stairway. Now just snap the bottom vertex of the mesh to the top vertex. Then just duplicate it and snap it to the lower edge of the mesh. Now you just need to press Shift R to repeat the command to fill the steps for the floor. After that, just delete the reference mesh and replace it with the other side of the mesh. Then later you can also change the position and slightly move it down, but I will be leaving them here. Then select the top mesh and in edit mode, select the border edges and bevel them. You can also bevel the vertices of the floor by pressing Ctrl Shift B and scroll the middle mouse button to add more vertices to it. After that, in object mode, apply shade smooth to it and then auto smooth for the hard edges. Now just like before, copy and paste the mesh in the second scene. You can also duplicate the whole setup for baking again. It will help you to work on different texture individually. You will need to separate the floor from the stairways so that you can work on it separately and move the other mesh outside of the camera view. Just position it in such a way so that you can use it as a reference for the height of the grill. To create the texture for the floor, all you need to do is add a cube to the scene and scale it down. And make sure that how much depth you want to give it. And then just select the top faces of the mesh and scale it horizontally to show the sides of the mesh, which will be great to create the normals and other maps of the mesh. Then scale it vertically and use it to cover the whole area of the floor beneath it. Then just duplicate it several times to make grid of the floor and then use the same mesh over and over again. To make grill, I have used the same cube which I have used for the stairway floor. So in edit mode, duplicate it and separate it from the floor mesh. Then use the same snap tool to snap it to the bottom of the plane and then give the same height to it by using the reference mesh. Then I have added edge loop and slide it up slightly to the top end and have beveled it and delete it. Then select the both end and put 3D cursor to the selection and add torus mesh between them. Now you just need to scale it down to match the width of the cube. You can also change the thickness by pressing Alt S. After giving thickness to it, then snap the end of the cube to the starting edge of the torus. Then scale the other cubes on x-axis to match them with the width of the torus. Then I have just duplicated the upper cube, rotated it on 90 degree and snapped it on top and bottom of the torus and scaled it on x-axis to make sure that the width of these meshes matches exactly the width of the whole torus mesh, so that when you will array it, you won't see any gaps between them. Now apply array modifier to it to create multiple copies of it. Now just like before, you will need to bake out the normal map and save it. Then to create the alpha texture, you will need to change the mat cap to flat. Then make sure to change the position of the stairway floor below the main plane. Then in material tab, change the color of the mesh to full black. Now change the color of the stairway mesh to full white. Now you just need to render the image and save it. After that, switch back to scene 1 and apply the same green material which we have used for the bottom of the building. Select the mesh and drag and drop the material on the stairway meshes. Then select the top mesh and in edit mode select middle faces of the mesh and add a new material slot by clicking on the plus sign. Now add the same green material, then make it a single user copy and assign it to the faces. Then just import the maps inside the material. Use the same setting for the normal as we did for the previous materials. For the alpha map, plug that into the alpha. And change the blend mode to alpha clip for such kind of task, cause sometimes you will get noise while using the alpha hash. Now we just need to use the same follow active chord technique for the middle faces of the mesh and match the UVs to the alpha map data. After that, duplicate the instance of the mesh and snap it to the bottom of the window panel. Then for the stairway floor, select the floor mesh and just use the simple unwrap and match the UVs to the map. Don't forget to apply the same alpha material to preview the texture. Then I have just duplicated the instances of the stairway mesh and snapped them below the window panels. You will need to remodel the stairs because the length between some of the panels will be more. After that, I have just duplicated the mesh and mirrored it and snapped it to the other side of the building. I have modeled the pipes for the water drainage system and have used the same technique for modeling that I have used for the ventilation duct. And that's pretty much about it. Hope you have liked it. If you like my tutorial, then subscribe and support me on Patreon, where you will be able to get the project files that I have used in my tutorials. Thanks for watching.